Hello friends, we are going to look at the island of Trinidad. It's the southernmost island in the Caribbean. More central east is the location. It's a lot of green. We'll be coming off the highway going past La Horquetta on Tumpuna Road South. And you can see the road there and how it goes down, which is all the way to a place called SAN RAPHAEL. Then we go to the Cumuto, Tumpuna Rd, head more east into Cumuto, kind of circle around Cumuto and then head back north, but taking a different route, which will take us to Wallerfield. That's on the Cumuto Road. And when we reach to Wallerfield, we will actually go into an area where a lot of people probably haven't been, and then we'll come back out. It's one big loop. So that's what we're going to do today, and this road trip is pretty long. This video is about 2 hours long. One of the things that you can do is please make sure to subscribe. It's free. All you have to do is click the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. You can also like the video and let your friends know where to come and find it on YouTube. By the way, if you find any of my content listed anywhere else, and when I say listed anywhere else, if you find any of my videos being played anywhere else besides YouTube, please let me know. My videos are copyrighted and supposed to be only shown here on YouTube. Of course, they are available on my website and whatnot, but nobody should be downloading it and uploading it as their own. Now we're here at a traffic light and we're going to be turning right soon, and when we go right, our journey begins. This is actually a highway, believe it or not. In Trinidad, we have highways with lots of traffic lights on it, and this is one of them. Now, normally you should have flyovers and all that, but here we don't have a whole bunch of infrastructure that is necessary to keep traffic moving, and plus lots of vehicles in Trinidad. It's a small island, but sometimes it feels like you're in Tokyo, Japan. Just lots of cars everywhere. The other thing I wanted to tell you is please show your support. It takes a lot of time to create videos like this. Not only the amount of fuel, the recording, but there's another process, which is the editing. Putting it together, putting it, uploading it for you. It takes hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And lots of work. So if you feel like you can support the work that's being done, please visit JB's Man Cave at jbmancave.com and donate. Your donation goes a long way in helping me to create more videos and supports me as a father as well. That's much appreciated. If you can't do it, no problem. Please let your friends know about JB's Man Cave. So the light is green and we are going to start our road trip. We're heading south. The time of morning would be around 10 o'clock in the morning. We're going to be passing through or near to La Horquetta. Now, one of the things that these videos will do is give you a sense of what the area is like by including a good coverage of both left and right. Although we're in the center of the road and we're following the road's path, I've put the lens in such a way that it should pick up what's on the either side of the road. So if you're from this area, you get to see, how much it has been built up, anything new, anything has changed or whatnot. And a lot of you are very good at coming and telling us about what used to be in certain locations. I really appreciate that. I am not a historian, so if you can tell us what you remember about the area, what used to be here, or what has improved or not improved, or what should be done, that's great. Just don't make it something political. Some people come and start spreading messages about politics and stuff, and that's not what this is about. I mean, I sometimes discuss issues, but I discuss the issue, not the politicians. And when I think something should be done by those in authority, I will say just that, those in authority. I don't want to isolate any particular politician or party or whatever have you. Just keeping it real. So this road keeps taking us south. And for those of you who are not familiar with what Trinidad looks like, this is, I would say, typical Trinidad. The houses, the roads, the pavement, sidewalk. You know, this is just generally how it looks on a Caribbean island. I know that, again, as I said before in some of my videos, you know, always shown for tourists are beaches and the sea and whatnot. And that's fine, but that's, in the case of Trinidad, not the whole of it. This is the majority of it. Just this look. Also, we build a lot with concrete here, as you can see. A lot of metal. Although I feel at some point, because of the cost of metal is going up so much, that we might start to see a lot of people use more clay, which is a Spanish look, but maybe they might start to bring more clay roofs. What do you think? I think I made a video actually about that, about the difference between construction of buildings here and abroad. The buildings here are way more stronger than those abroad. Not boasting or anything like that, but just the materials that are used are built to last. It has always amazed me when I go abroad to see, you know, wood and paper and what I would consider light materials used in building a house. And some will argue though that's for the weather, but even when I went to Britain, they use a lot of clay blocks, solid clay blocks. And what they do is they drill holes and they fill the wall itself with a concoction that keeps in heat for winter. Now, by the way, that road beared right, but we are following this road left. Now, I'm not too sure which vicinity this will fall under, if it's Guanapo or not, but I like to sometimes take these offshoot roads just to see what it leads to. And that's the case here. I would call this somewhat of a residential area, although that you just passed a factory there, you will see other places of business. That's sort of how it is here in Trinidad, and probably in some areas of the Caribbean too. Places of residence can be multi-purpose. So somebody might have a house, and on the side of their house a business, or you know, they may live upstairs and downstairs is the business, or it could be a residential area, but you know, in between are businesses. You know, people just have to survive, and that's just how it is. Now the houses on the right look like they were government built. You can see that by how they are in unison. They have the same design. The road in here definitely can use a paving. A lot of potholes. Looks like it hasn't been maintained in quite a while. And probably because the area hasn't been traversed, and the further in we go, the worse it gets. I know a video doesn't really let you know just how bad a road is, but it's pretty bad. And I'm in a truck. My truck is more or less built for these kind of roads, but still going over these roads is very uncomfortable and irritating. And this road itself, you may not be able to tell, but it really does not have anywhere that is flat. There are kind of like ripples in the road itself, in addition to all these potholes. Now when you look at this, you might think, oh my goodness, this is going to nowhere. And you see all the birds flying about, roosting somewhere, going through their rituals or whatever have you. Makes you wonder, okay, is this some sort of abandoned place? Where am I going to end up? Well, that's, for me, that's all part of the adventure. I know some of you would have been turning back already, but not me. I like to keep on going until it ends. And if you've seen my other videos, you would know exactly what I mean. A good example of that is the Lopino video. I have other videos like that too where I go to the end, but I like how the Lopino video ends. You know, something these back roads are always good for too is if you like mountain biking. But definitely it's not a place I would say you would come and walk or visit at night. Funny enough, a lot of those potholes do very well at keeping people who like to speed out, because you definitely can't race here. I mean, I could only imagine if this road was well paved, people would use this to speed. That's not the case here. The interesting thing about roads like this too is that at the beginning of the road there should be a clear sign that says dead end. So you know, if for instance I was taking this road and I thought, okay, this road will take me to somewhere like from point A to point B, only to find out after driving for miles and miles it ends as a dead end, then that would be sorely disappointing, because now you have to go all the way back out and then go somewhere else to get to where you're going. So signage in Trinidad is, I'll rate it as poor. You'll see a lot of signage on built up areas, but when you're in a built up area you already tend to know where you're going, and it's easier to ask. An isolated road like this also needs signage. For me, there's no place I know better that does that than in Britain. Literally, the most isolated road is well paved, with signs, with markings, with everything. Even in my visit to the US, it wasn't as good as it was in Britain. If you've been to both places and know what I'm talking about, feel free to comment in the comments area of my YouTube channel under this video. Of late I've been noticing a lot of people tend to comment, but they're like mixing up their comments. One comment meant for another video they will comment in another video and so forth. You know, make sure that when you're commenting to the right video, please, because it keeps in unison and helps me to understand what you're talking about. Also address the timeline, so I can know what part of the video you're talking about, because I create hundreds and hundreds of videos and it's hard for me to track or remember them all. Now you see how we passed all that isolated road and we ended up in what I would consider a nice little residential area that's now being built up. You know, looks like people trying to make the best of their houses. Probably land out here is pretty cheap as well, so to be able to establish something better than they would have otherwise. And you know, as you notice, there are a lot of electricity poles. One thing the country Trinidad and Tobago is good for is a supply of electricity. Sometimes the most remote areas will have electricity. I can't say the same for water. That's always an issue locally, but for sure with electricity, I've been to driving to some of the places that I wouldn't think would even have electricity, and wham, there's an electricity pole. So this is the end of the line. And being that it's the end of the line, I can't even turn around here. There's no place. You can't tell, but on the left there is sort of like a small river. So it wasn't enough for the truck to turn around, so I am reversing back out. But I just love this entrance with the coconut trees, the palms and stuff. It's nice. I wish you could see more of that. And the irony is too that even though we reached so far in, the road is a bit better than it was further out near the entrance. If that road would have continued, we would have eventually come out, I guess, by Cumuto Road, that area. Cumuto is just before San RAPHAEL. But again, you know, how many of you have actually come into this area, for instance? Not many, right? And that's why I like taking, you know, just tapping in to take a random road. I mean, I could do that all day, taking random roads, but I would never finish. That dog looked like he wanted to match the truck. I really dislike when dogs try to attack vehicles and tires. I've seen many dogs run over like that, and it's really sad. They need to be trained. If you don't know, you can actually take your dog by the wheel of your own vehicle and teach them to avoid it by training them. If you're not sure how, you can always visit an animal trainer to teach you how, or watch some YouTube videos. Have a lot of videos and instructions how to teach your animal how to be safe, so they don't run out on the road and get hurt. As you can see, it's a nice clear day. Not a whole bunch of Saharan dust, and not a lot of cloud cover either. Sporadic clouds here and there. So the day was more or less like this, so you can expect to see weather more or less like this throughout this video. Now, one thing I have noticed in passing through areas like this is that you tend to get some really bad smells. It smells like something's dead. I don't want to say if it's animal or human. I hope it's not human, but it smells like something big is dead. I don't know if people dump or whatever, but you know, it's in the grass. And I've noticed from traveling to a lot of remote areas in Trinidad, you pick up that smell. Now, it could be as simple as wildlife attacking other wildlife, or that, you know, an animal has aged and died or something, but Wow, the smell can be very strong, and sometimes you do smell it 2 or 3 times on the same road. Huh? So when I do come in roads like this, I kind of expect it. So if you're the kind of person who can't handle smells like that, you may want to put up your windows and your air condition and whatnot. And if you put it on your air condition, I guess the vents will have to be closed, so the air only circulates on the inside. Otherwise, you'll still pick up the scent. When we go on these road trips to these countryside places, we tend to have the windows down, have some fresh air. And as we're on that topic, what do you guys think about the fuel prices now? Oh wow, it's really going up high. It makes road trips like this even more a struggle because it used to be that, especially with having a diesel vehicle, which I have. When I got my vehicle, diesel used to be $1.50 TT, which would be about 25 cents US. I know that sounds ridiculous, right? Even less than that, 20 cents US or something like that, somewhere around there. And that would be for a liter of diesel. Now I pay $4.41 per liter, which compared with the world stage is still cheaper, but like I always say to people, we don't get the same money salary wise or whatever as people abroad. So the money doesn't have the kind of value that you would expect. We have $100 bill and the color of it's blue, and when you take that $100, it's like, I would say, taking a $20. It's not does not have the value that it does. You can buy very little with that here. Whereas taking it one for one, $100 on each stage, you could still do a lot. Even $20, you could still do a lot. You could still buy a lot of stuff. Even though things are expensive everywhere, you can still do more than you can here. Sometimes you go to the grocery and what we used to buy would fill up the cart. Now we would reach the same amount of money and the cart is not even half full, and that's not no joke, huh? Alright, so we're coming back out to the main road where we came in. Tumpuna Road South. As we cross this bridge, we will get it. This was just to get you to see what it's like here. So if you want to see that road trip, just as you come in, you see that Tumpuna Road there. You can actually come straight down. But the main road actually veers left, just as you see that car there. So in case you're coming from the north, it would veer right. So we continue on this road, and this road will take us to SAN RAPHAEL, which is a place that's very historic, very village-like, has a nice tone to it, nice feel, countryside feel. I actually have a video for it about showing the intersection, the junction there. It has an unusual junction with an unusual, I don't know if to call it a roundabout, but it connects a lot of major roads together. And you'll see that in a moment. Sometimes I pass by to a lot of signage with a lot of things to go and see. And sometimes I wish to stop, but you know, it's easy to stop to all the touristic places or places designated to visit, right? But when you go offshoot, that's when it becomes, in my mind, more adventurous. Because oftentimes the places where they're designated for visiting are short. You know, you kind of like turn in, that's it. You see the place, that's it, it's finished. But when you go on these longer road trips, you see a lot of places that you never saw before. And the other thing is to this video, as all my other videos, kinds of acts like a historic look into the past. Because in the future, you'll be able to look at this video and say, wow, how has things changed? And as you can see, the road here is terrible. Looks like a meteorite shower took the best of it. And these potholes, they can seriously mess up your alignment. Huh? I had some tires, some what I thought was good tires, and I haven't been checking my truck as I ought to. And you know, my tires was good one day, and then another day when I actually looked at the tires, I realized they were wearing down. They were being eaten away because all these potholes just kill your alignment. So you really have to align often, which is another added cost to driving in Trinidad. So potholes don't only destroy suspension, but they can also mash up your tires and kill your alignment, which in turn will also destroy your tires. So we are coming up to SAN RAPHAEL junction here, and you can see the church ahead. Very historic church that has been here forever. May not always look like that, but that's the building. You can see from the signage there all the places that this takes you to. Now really, we want to go on this road, and I'm going in the correct way, but I thought in my mind, you know, why come all this way and not take in more of SAN RAPHAEL? So I decided to stop here and turn around. I will come back to this road and we will continue the road trip. But I just wanted to kind of drive around SAN RAPHAEL and actually walk around it. And like I said, I created a video for that purpose. Make sure to look for it on my channel, and if you can't find it, just ask me, I will link you up. Especially if you're using a phone, as far as I can see, you have to jump through too many loops or hoops in order to search a channel specifically. I don't know why it's like that. You can search it easily if you're on a desktop or a wide screen, but not the other way. This is the junction. That was the police station, and I'm sort of making this big loop here and parking right here by this abandoned lot. And what I did was come out and walk around and video record the area, so you can see that video when you have a chance. For me, it was very interesting to take in and to see the video to see the area in a different light. I was done in high resolution because when I record these road trips, I always record it in a lower resolution of 2.7K, which is still high definition, but when I walk around, it's even higher resolution. Okay, so remember when we stopped, I said we will stop and come back? Well, this is that same road. Sometimes when I go back in the vehicle, I forget to turn on the camera. So I didn't turn it on time. But you haven't missed anything. It's more or less the same place where I stopped to turn around. So right now we're heading more or less east. Now this will also take us to the arena forest and the start of where the arena massacre took place. Now, I have read a lot of things about a debate as to where the massacre actually took place, because the account of where it took place was based on, I believe, one of the monks who survived, or one of the people who survived, or something like that. But basically, the ambush, the fighting, and whatnot took place over a wide area. It wasn't just one specific location. Who knows? It could have all been here. And if you don't know about that or what I'm talking about, also make sure to check out the video for that. Now these areas would be considered countryside. And for me, besides all these places looking like typical Trinidad, the only thing that would let you know really that these are countryside places is the fact that it's more green. And in a way that's sadder, because when you go in the city and stuff, you hardly see any green. It's just more or less concrete everywhere. You just don't see as much dense green as you do when you come to these areas. And probably lots more potholes too. Though we have a fair share in the more built up areas, some of these countryside areas, wow, they really have some serious road problems. And actually we'll see that later in this video too. We passed through one area that was ridiculous in the amount of potholes that it had. But one thing I really love is the green of the countryside. Fresh air. Just a look. You can see how deep that vehicle went into those potholes, right? That was wow. I know I tend to pass over them fairly quickly, but I can't imagine doing that in a car really. These places would mash up your vehicle. And you know something I see a lot in Trinidad is a lot of young people lowering their access in the vehicle so that they could be even closer to the road as a low rider. I just don't get that, because we just don't have paved leveled roads for that. It's so bumpy and you just will mash up your vehicle like that. Now road trips like this that go on for a while, they can help you to recognize more of what the country is like, but it's also very good for building relationships. For instance, on a lot of times when I go with my family, we all sitting in a truck and we are taking in scenery and whatnot, but we're also building a relationship with each other, getting to know one another more, discuss ideas and so forth. And being in a vehicle together as a family I mean, there's not really another time when you're so close in contact with each other, except probably around the dinner table. So road trips help to build up that. One of the considerations you can think of in going on a road trip with your family. And it doesn't always have to be somewhere special. And when I say special, it doesn't have to be the popular areas. It could be somewhere just like how I'm doing. Let's make a loop around wherever. It could be even in your own area. It doesn't even have to be far. Now, I don't know if you noticed earlier, but there was a cyclist um, training, I guess. And these areas are actually great for that. I used to cycle in my day, and I can imagine cycling here for sure. It'd be a really good workout, especially because you have some hills, you have some inclines, but they're not severe. They're just good enough to give you a workout. Now you see all the open land on the left. I believe they're building up there, and for me it's kind of frightful because I don't know, Trinidad just loves to make everything out of concrete. And right on the opposite of it is a forest that is protected. Or it should be protected if it's not. I just don't know. But we're gonna stop here and look at it. This is the arena forest I was talking about. And if you have not seen it, I have an additional video for that. In fact, I made 2 videos about it. This path here, we will actually continue on to go inside the forest. But I wanted to stop and take some footage. There's an area out there, like a recreation spot with some information. And I created like I said, a video out of that. So if it looks like I'm not going, I'm actually speeding up the video here at 8 times the speed. But that shows you how still it is. Just imagine how I'm actually in fast forward now, but you can hardly recognize it. Maybe you can recognize it nowadays. I believe hunters now coming out of the forest. So once I do that, I will get in the truck and we will keep going. And the irony of it is I saw this on Google Maps, but I was actually hunting for some rivers to go and visit. And when I found this, I said, oh, let's stop and take a look. Now, I would not advise you to come in here with a car. And definitely not a vehicle without 4x4. Especially if it's a rainy day, you will get stuck in here for sure. But for me, this is really beautiful. Now, I wish that we could go all the way in, but you will see at a point where some trees fell and blocked the path. So I was unable to go further, but I really wish I could. Normally I would have no problems jumping out and hiking on these, but when I'm with my family, I can't do that. My younger days, yeah, I loved hiking all over. We'd go all in the mountains, on the coast, everywhere. Camp out. Maybe I should just create some videos on that, some of my experiences. Nothing spectacular, but maybe somebody else can relate to that. This tree looks like it really wants to fall. I just hope it doesn't when we are passing. here is really serene. And the smell of green, oh yeah, it's just fantastic. There's a little path to the left, but in my judgment, I don't think the truck would have gone in there easily. And I doubt it was 4 vehicles anyway, but if you visit, you can always check it out. But be careful when you're coming out here or coming around here, because as you can see, it can be isolated. You can end up going far in and you could get lost if you don't know what you're doing. Although the path is pretty significant, the more you go in, the overgrowth takes it on. So there was no place to turn around, so I'm reversing out. I don't know about you, but I generally do not like reversing. So whenever I get a chance, I try to turn around. Especially because on my truck I have a canopy, and the canopy tends to block the view a lot. And I like to have the best shot of to see where I'm going. And you know, like I said, the path here is not one to take chances with. It kind of has a muddy appearance. You can see a little bit out on the left. You can actually feel the vehicle sink if you start to go too far into it. So I take small turns to turn around. And sometimes we like to stop and have a look at something that we maybe saw. My wife said, I think I mentioned this in the other videos about this area. My wife said she saw a long green snake, light green. As she was walking, it just crossed her path. So, you know, don't think that snakes only hide under logs and bushes or from trees. They could be on the ground, and they can be on the same path that you're walking. So you always have to pay attention to where you are going. Poisonous or not, you don't want to be playing around with a snake. Besides, wildlife, you know, tends to just want to be left alone. If you hear lots of dogs in the background, that's just my neighbors. They have incessant dogs that bark for anything. Somebody sneezed, they would bark. What do you think? Would you be willing to drive into a place like this? Do you have a vehicle that can handle it? Now this is one path that you can take. There's another. And I'm going to turn here to go into it. But the turn is sharp from this angle. So I may have to reverse, which I do. And go. Now here, for me, is even worse than the other path. And when I say worse for driving, because you may be able to go up a bit, but truly the intention is that you're not supposed to drive here, because I could actually see where there were areas where you would start to sink further up ahead. So it's not meant for vehicles. And again, in the videos that I created, I tested out the area, and I showed using a stick how it sinks. So after taking my footage, I got back in the truck and we turned around. So if you want to see more of where that area is and a bit, I talk about a bit of the history of the area, not as a historian, but just layman's view. You can always look for that video. Funny enough, some people are put off by areas like this. And when I say put off, they can't handle the insects, the bugs, the isolation, the lack of Wi-Fi signal, so they could check their phone. You know, some people are just not nature lovers, and I can understand that. And I would say that if you are not into that type of thing, then this area would not be for you, because when we were out there, I was amazed at how many insects were coming around us. Mosquitoes, bugs, different things. I mean, you could spray bug off on your skin, but still some people don't like seeing bugs around, so if so, this is not for you. So we're exiting the area right now. In fact, I don't know if you can see it, but sometimes on the screen will actually appear bugs. Yeah, we're exiting the area and we're going to be turning right. And the mountains in the background, that's the northern range. We're kind of in the center, east, north. I don't know how to position it well, of Trinidad. More east. And you can see how much land they have cleared to build that. So this means that's going to be a huge project, whatever it is. Whomever knows what that project is exactly, feel free to comment in the comments area. That's a lot of land to clear. Must be a big housing project. But I do hope that with the housing comes some respect for the land, the surroundings and whatnot. Because, and I'll show you why. All here is beautiful, but we found places were used for dumping. I just don't get that. You can see some of the trash on the left, on the right there. Look at that. Such a remote area and dumping trash. There's just a lack of respect for biodiversity and the environment and anything green in Trinidad. I just don't get why Trinis are like that. We can't blame nobody else but ourselves for the way the environment is. Just no respect. I just don't get it. And look at here. Here's really nice. On the right is actually like a swampy area. And we're kind of looking at it while trying to avoid potholes. And you have some offshoot roads that take you to who knows where, but some of those roads are private. They tend to have chains on it or whatever. In fact, some signs on the trees that was saying it's private property. You can see how isolated this road is, right? Haven't seen a vehicle for a long time. So it's not the kind of place I would suggest coming at night, even though The lampposts reflect that there should be light here at night. I wouldn't take a chance. Not even sometimes during the day. But the forest is all on your right, and that's just grand. And a lot of cleared land on the left. Sometimes people who are willing to come into these areas early o'clock as well, and when I say early o'clock, when land is still more or less cheap before it gets built up, so that when it is built up, they are more or less settled, they have their property and whatnot. But I guess it would take some sacrifice initially because, to live out here on your own would take some gusto, some courage. If you have lived in those circumstances, I'd like to know how you felt about it. Living in an area that has not been built up as yet. This bridge looks like it has had some real age. Looks like it still came from the colonial era and still holding strong. And check that wooden house on the right there. That is classic of what you used to see a lot in country areas decades ago. All wood houses. And one of the nice things about, I'm not a person for wooden structures or even wooden furniture. I prefer using metals, cement and stuff, and that's a whole other topic. But one thing I cannot argue about with wooden structures is they are good at keeping cool. Concrete, steel, tends to absorb and keep the heat, but wood is pretty good at dispersing the heat. So you can see how much forest is in this area. Whether public or private, I don't know. But the road is quite interesting at how long it is. And along the way, you always get these little pockets of communities, but usually when you start to see more and more houses, you're getting close to something major, like a major area or whatever. And this would be going into Cumuto. It's hard to tell sometimes where one area ends and the other begins because of, again, signage. Sometimes you will be lucky to get something, and other times not so much. Sometimes you also see abandoned buildings as well, left and right, incomplete buildings and so forth. That's all part of driving in Trinidad. One of the good things about driving in Trinidad too is you can teach your children something called orienteering. Now, orienteering in the old days used to be taking a map and a compass and trying to find your whereabouts. But in this case, sometimes what I will do is print out a map, a Google map, and I will tell them to tell us where we are on the map, or I might say, okay, we are at this road. Do I turn left or right? And they would have to tell me based on the map which way we are supposed to go. It's very good for teaching a sense of direction, and you know, when people take their dogs out for a walk or whatever, usually it's to help them understand their neighborhood and the location of other places to where they reside. And the same is true with humans. I mean, if you don't go out and explore your country, you won't know where something is or where things are. You know, somebody might say, let's say in Port of Spain, and somebody might say, well, I live in Cumuto, and you might say, well, where is that? Never heard of that. But if you know where Cumuto is, you've been there, it will give you an idea of just how far the person came and an idea, a general idea of their surroundings and so forth. So at this juncture, we are exploring more. I just turned in this road randomly. Like I said, I always like to take random roads, but we were really supposed to go right to get to Cumuto. And this road leads us to something short-lived. Short-lived in that it's another dead end. But if somebody used to live in here or come in here or whatever, they might say, hey, I'm so surprised to have a glimpse of this area and where it is today. I know a lot of people are building gates like this now. See, just the lines going across. People used to build more exotic gates, but metal is becoming so expensive. The other day, I don't know if you've seen my other videos where sometimes I'll do it yourself welding. I'm not a welder by profession, but I do know how to weld, arc weld that is, and it comes in handy when you have a truck and you need to make a quick repair or add something or repair something or build something. I actually built up a lot of my own storage areas and safety areas from welding. But it used to be that I could go and get some metal called RHS, which is long lengths of square metal, and you could cut it and create things out of it. But the other day I went to get a length for a project, and I couldn't believe the price. It was triple the normal price, and I just had to walk back out. I really thought, at first I thought the person mixed up the numbers or it was a joke, but no, they were serious. So I believe that new look with the gate has to do with maybe economizing on metal, trying to make a design but not spending a whole load. Maybe I'm wrong. If you've been recently building your house locally, you can let me know. Something nice about these areas too is that, as you know, I always like to see coconut trees, and there's a whole bunch in this area. Crotons too, we're passing them. I have some fans that like crotons like I do. We have such a great diversity of plants and animals in this country, and it's really not taken advantage of. And when I say taken advantage, I mean we could really beautify the place using plants, and we could create areas for animals to live and gather and just watch their beauty, not to kill them or eat them. And people, some of you might laugh at that. I'm a vegan, so I don't believe in harming any animal life. For me, a canary and a chicken is the same in that they both deserve to live. It's not up to me to choose which one I should eat. So in this area, it was strange to see after all this driving, a fuel station and a junk food place there, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but there it was. And probably good idea too, because I can't imagine coming out here and you are lost for fuel. One thing I make sure to do on these road trips is I have at least 3/4 tanks of fuel. Nothing less than that. I would not go on a road trip with less than 3/4, because usually I would just full up, because something can happen. Other times there might be a landslide, an accident or whatever, and some of these outlying roads, to get around them, and when I say around them, to another, from point A to point B, and you have to go to point C in order to get to point B, you really had to drive real miles, and you don't want to be like wondering if you'll make it with the fuel you have. So always go on these road trips with lots of fuel. From those of you who are abroad, you might be wondering, well, how do you tell the roads apart or the areas apart? I don't see any signs, and the areas tend to look the same. Well, they may look the same in general, but for locals, we can readily tell one area from the next. There are just certain things that you see that is not part of another area. Like one area might be more hilly than the next, one area might have worse roads than the next, one area might go in a different direction than the next. That actually really passed really close. Wow. I do have videos on crazy driving, by the way. In case you don't know, I cover not only road trips, but a lot of the crazy driving that goes on in the country. You have good drivers, but then the crazy ones just stay with you because you've almost lost your life. And you probably have noticed all the lines, electrical lines and poles all over. That's something that kind of irks me in Trinidad. I mean, I grew up seeing these lines, but they weren't so pronounced like they are now, crisscrossing, or with the advent of cable TV, other cable companies and whatnot. There was just like an explosion of cables, and these, they just use so many, because when there's just one or two lines, you really didn't notice it, but now you can see all those lines going all over the place, and there were a lot of thieves stealing it. I have another video about that, a short clip about how they would cut the lines to get the copper to sell it, because like I said, metal is very expensive right now in the world, not just Trinidad. One of the things we were trying to do at this point too, I think it was around near noon, time was going by, and we wanted to find a shady area to stop and get a bite. And I was looking for somewhere, there isn't a specific place to park or whatever, so I was looking for somewhere that was fairly shaded, well shaded, that I could park and we could pull out our stuff and eat. Now let me just say quick that if I turned left there, I would have go to SAN RAPHAEL, but staying here on this road, we stay in the Cumuto area. I didn't want to go to SAN RAPHAEL. I have other videos about SAN RAPHAEL passing through. I still have to do a walkabout there, and we'll need to do that soon. I know some of you would like to see that, showing the raw and other areas too in Trinidad. But I have more or less all the major areas of Trinidad covered as far as walkabouts. My most recent one was Tumpuna. If you haven't seen that video, make sure to look for it. But I have lots on Port of Spain, San Fernando, Chaguanas, Arima, all those areas. Now I wasn't sure what those buildings on your right are. If you all know, feel free to tell me using the timeline what they are. It looked like not a joke, but it looked almost like buildings you would use for a concentration camp. Feel free to let me know what they are. Had no sign. Now I don't know if you can notice, but some parts of this road is kind of slanted. You might be driving and suddenly, see, like that dip, or the landslides and so on. And as you will see, look at how bad it is. This road has totally broken up, shifting land and whatnot. And I don't know if the view of the camera here can really tell you just how bad that road is. It's supposed to be level there, but the road has literally collapsed on one side. And it's like this for quite a ways. You'll see more of it right here. It's really bad. I believe all roads need attention, and I can see why there may be some slow progress in coming all the way out here to fix roads, but nevertheless, all the roads need to be fixed. Look at here, it's nice and paved compared to where we just passed. And so I found my nice little shaded area right there. And so I stopped so that we can grab a bite to eat. That's one of the things that's nice about these road trips. You can eat and relax and whatnot. So in continuing, I was kind of delaying putting on the camcorder because I forgot. One of my kids said, "Hey, you don't have the camera on." But I'm not too far from where I stopped. Don't worry, I wouldn't miss anything because we have to go back the way I came. This is an offshoot road from where we stopped. And it's kind of odd, and that's why I wanted to take it. It's kind of up and down, one way in and out, just big enough for one vehicle. There's some plantations here, coconut trees. See, it goes up again, then it'll go back down, kind of like a roller coaster. It's kind of an interesting drive. Seeing all the houses, and again, you notice all the electricity poles. On the right is where we came from, and on the left is continuing. I mean, you could go down south using that road. And when I say south, you could travel to Mayaro, the southeast of Trinidad, that is. Now, although this video is 2 hours long, it's really a condensed video in that I'm not showing you all the time taken to stop and get out, stretch, look at things, eat something, whatnot. I mean, if I lagged on all that, this would be a 6 hour long video. I'm just picking up the parts where, you know, I drove. Some nice structures out here too, but they don't look like they're well maintained or not finished. And the thing is too, the land here is shifting a lot. So I don't know how economical it is for a land or homeowner to build out here. Because let me tell you, if the road can shift like that, that means the land on the other each side of the road also shifts, huh? Because the road just doesn't break up like this on its own. It's breaking up because on the sides of the road, the land is moving, or underneath the road, the land is moving. I don't know. This is just a thought on the top of my head, but for me, a lot of these roads should have bamboo growing on either side. There's some bamboo on the right there, and some on the left too. But they should be right there, you know, on the road, just closer to it, holding up the road. You know, just planted all over. I guess the idea is a maintenance issue too, huh? Because once you have bamboo growing, bamboo by itself is okay, but sometimes it will break, come across the road, or it could be that there's lots of overgrowth because other trees and vines tend to grow over bamboo as well, and that'll be problems. But at least I think maintenance on plants is cheaper than building roads, not so? What do you think? Look at how bad this road is. Doesn't even have asphalt on it. The asphalt is long grown, seems to be washed away. This is part of the road I was saying that I missed on the camera and not recording, but you won't miss it because I'm going in the opposite direction and picking it all up for you. So those of you who are in south, around Siparia and Parapo and so, you all have some bad roads. I know of it. I've been there. I have videos on it too. But you can see that up here too, in the northeast, they really have some bad roads as well. Huh? It's not like it's a competition to see who has the worst roads. Huh? Nothing like that. I'm just saying that there's so many bad roads everywhere. It really needs to be addressed. It's really hard to address shifting land though, because it's not like you can just come and, you know, drop some sand and gravel and pave the road again, because it'll just keep cracking up. Unless the issue on the sides of the road is addressed, it will just keep breaking up. And that can be very costly, huh? And especially for remote areas like this. I'm sure in the powers that be, it's not a priority. This is probably right here, right now is the worst strip of it. You'll come across just now where one part of the road has actually dropped. See? There's like a 3-foot drop for one half of the road, to the point that it's just collapsed. And I'm sure this business one is like if I'm following them, but I'm not following them. I'm just trying to get past this road, and I wanted to show you how it is because I came the other way before. But you didn't see that way. I was on the other side of the road, so up driving on this side, I'm on the upper side. Again, those warehouses or buildings or whatever, I don't know what it is, that look like a concentration camp. Whoever knows what these are, buildings are, feel free to let me know in the comments area. Also put the timeline so I know what you're talking about. By the way, on JB's Man Cave, I don't only show videos about road trips or just Trinidad. If you really take a good look at my homepage, you will see that when I say my homepage, the home page of my YouTube channel, you will see that I have videos for other parts of the world and on things that not necessarily have anything to do with a road trip. I just show these road trips because that's where I am at the moment and recorded it for you. But I do have recordings of other parts of the world and other things that I'm working on. Sometimes some of my more popular videos are actually videos where I show people how to do things for themselves or repair their truck or talk about that or anything, things like that. So in JB's Man Cave you can find other things that may be useful to you. So if I turn right, I would go out to Sandy Grande, but we're not going there anymore than we need to. We're going back the way we came after visiting, I believe it's Tamana, not sure. Saw Cumuto though. That house on the right is massive. That's the funny thing about Trinidad. You'll come in an area and you might see all green, shack and whatever, and then suddenly this massive house. For instance, like the one on the left. Some people just love big houses. I don't know if I really like a huge house. I mean, the thing with having a huge house too is huge electricity bill, more cleaning, more to concern yourself about because you know when you have a big house you don't want empty rooms, right? Each room usually has something going on. I don't know, I just like just enough. I'm kind of a minimalist. If you haven't looked more at JB's Man Cave to see other things where I talk about what I do and stuff, um, I'm more or less of a minimalist, so the less things for me the better. I'm not really collecting anything, harboring stuff or whatever. I actually try to get rid of things as much as I can, just keep what I need and that's it. So having a huge house in my mind does not really serve any purpose. I like keeping it simple. How about yourself? You like big houses, small houses, mid-size, maybe just an apartment? Feel free to comment in the comments area of my YouTube channel. Let me know what you're talking about though. It's a long video, so if you're just answering something, I may not know what you're answering. can always link to the comment, or specifically say what you're talking about or why you're answering it. I'm curious too, these long videos, are you able to watch them from start to finish, or do you like breaking it up in parts? Do you record where you left off and continue? Let me know in the comments area. How do you watch these long videos? Sometimes I'm in two minds whether to break up these videos, but you know, breaking them up is actually sometimes more work, and I really want to show you the loop because this is one big loop. But if you're ever here for like a specific part of the video, or you're looking for just a specific place that I visit, you can always look in the description area. I have a key to the video footage. So in other words, you can go to specific parts in the video without having to watch the whole 2 hours. I like these little village areas too because people tend to know each other more. There's more that sense of belonging. It tends to be a little more quiet. I don't know how necessarily true that is because some people can be very loud, and if you have a loud neighbor, it can be a nightmare. But you know, passing through here, it was really quiet. And as you can see, there's not like there's loads of people on the road or linemen or anything. Everybody was just more or less to themselves and quiet, which was kind of interesting. Other things were closed up, which is a bit unusual, but you know, the pandemic has changed so much things. So we're taking this road, and this is the Cumuto Road, I believe, and it takes us back up north, and will take us to a place called Wallerfield, which was used once as a airport for the military. British and US armed forces were here during World War II, and they built that runway for their planes. Now it's being used like a racetrack, and you'll get to see some of that too. We're gonna go all in the back places that you probably have not been. We're gonna visit the racetrack, probably areas around that you haven't been, and so forth. Just picking up all the areas that you know you're not likely to go and visit. Keeping it real as usual. Now, one of the things I like about this little strip here is the road is fairly large. I know if you might think, oh, that's not very big, but um, I guess compared to the roads I just came out of, this was big. When I say big, I mean flat, paved, and not, you know, just scrounging for space. I guess I'm just trying to say it was unexpected. I was kind of slowing down to see if there were any offshoot roads on the right. There were, but they were closed to the public. They are private roads. Sometimes you look on Google Maps and you'll see a road leading you to something, but it's not something that you can access. And suddenly there was this barrage of vehicles. If you ever noticed, the land out here in this particular area is relatively flat. The mountain regions are much further away by miles, many miles. I guess that's one of the reasons why they chose to build a runway in Wallerfield. You can, I don't know if you can see it now, but the expanse of the road is wider. You know, not the kind of road that you would expect built after World War II. But nice and paved actually. At least this part of it. You can see the mountain range in the background there. If you go in there, you're likely. Now ahead is the racetrack, and here I wasn't too sure about whether this was public or private or what. But before I continued, I wanted to make sure and check it out. Maybe see if it took me to a river or some lookout area. Like I said, I like to explore. And I wanted to check out here. Definitely the road is no good. But where would it take us? When a road doesn't have any asphalt, it's just gravel and stuff, you know, hardly anybody comes through it. I stopped there to talk to the guys to find out more about the area. They one gentleman in particular was very interesting, friendly, and gave me an interesting overview of the history of the area, things that I never heard of before. Those of you who think you know about this area, this particular road that I'm on, especially going further in, test your knowledge by telling me what you know of the area So I can concur if that's the same as what that man told me. Very interesting. Something about history, not anything recent. Something happened in the 70s, 60s, and so with this area. Sometimes you come in an area like this and you would think, well, there's no history to it, but sometimes areas like this would fool you and make you think, oh, the whole of Wallerfield really, during the time of the U.S. occupation here, when I say occupation, when the U.S. were here for World War II on invitation by the British, I'm sure all these areas was full of life. You had the airport, lots of movement, maybe they had bases, tents, different things. So if we went straight, that would take us to the highway. If we went left, that would take us back to Cumuto. And we are going to go right here, and this will take us to the racetrack. This track used to be very popular when I was growing up. When I say very popular, I mean it still has a good reputation as a place to come and race. But I mean, I used to hear about races all the time in this area. Now I don't really hear about it so much. I don't know if it's the pandemic again spoiling things, but normally you would turn left by the gate there and park, and you could see some of the cars going around. But in my case, I am going around the track here on the outside. You do have to pay to go in. On my way back, I will spin in just to give you an idea of what's available. It's just a little area for spectators to sit down. I suppose you could come right here in this vicinity that I'm driving, and you could park on the outside, but your view will be kind of limited, and you will only see part of the track. Maybe a lot of you have not come this far into Wallerfield, but all of this is by the racetrack. And of course, I always drive until I can drive no more, and that's the end up there. So when I see that, I always look for a place to turn around. So we're heading back to the racetrack. I love that there's lots of coconut trees here. And you would think that as I'm in a Caribbean, I shouldn't have to talk about it so much like it's a big deal, but it is because concrete has taken over everything to the point that it's rare to see coconut trees. And it shouldn't be like that. By the way, to buy a coconut, to drink some coconut water, is around $10 now. TT dollars. I remember when I used to be 50 cents, a dollar. How times have changed. So turning into here is where you would go if you're going to race or visit or whatever have you. I just entered really just to show you guys and find out the cost. The guy was telling me that it's, I think, $50 per person. The only thing about it is, unless you come in here specifically to race, I can't imagine occupying that small space there. You see that small tent there on your right? That is where you go to sit down. And to me, it was a bit small. I don't know if it was just small for that day or what, but I never like, crowding together in a small space. And that seemed kind of small to me. There was a lot of people there already. So just look around there and make my way back out. Maybe someday I'll come and record an actual race for you guys. Now this particular area, Wallerfield, I'm not saying this street in particular, but every now and again you always hear about some murder that takes place or some hit. And because of that, it has made the area have a bad reputation, which is unfortunate. I think a lot of that has to do with the sparsity of the houses too. You have one house and then for miles you will not see another house and so forth. It's not like a close-knit community kind of thing. Maybe as the area becomes built up, that will change. There is actually a university, a local university in the area now. We will pass by there, and maybe having those things and other things come into the area built up, but it's incredibly slow. And I don't know why actually. I don't know if what there is to the land around here, but usually when there's so much open land, there would be people buying it up. If any of you have insight into that, you can feel free to let me know in the comments area of this video. And if you have stayed from the very beginning of this video and are still watching, congrats, you have some good staying power. You have around 25 minutes or so to go still. Look at this road, it's a really nice road, big and open. You can tell when we're getting closer to the highway. Now this is the part of Wallerfield most people probably be familiar with. That and what we're going to come up to just now. Here is not as trafficked as much as on the northern side of this road. People go into Valencia and San Grande. Now normally you would take this road if you want to get to Cumuto or Mayaro, which is the road you would take. Kind of if you want to dodge the more trafficked areas of San Grande. The northern range, which is those mountains up ahead, becoming more apparent. I think the tallest or the highest mountain we have in Trinidad is around 3,800 feet, somewhere there. I believe that's it. Anyway, if we could go straight across, and that would take us to Valencia. But in this case, we're going to turn right. Now look how big these roads are. Nice, right? This is all Wallerfield, and this area would take us to some places that you probably have never seen. You may see part of it if you went to the university there. But if not, I'm sure there are areas that you have not seen, so keep looking. It's the end of the highway. So you normally turn left because the highway kind of veers left. The highway actually ends here, and you normally go left. But in this case, we are going straight across. And you wouldn't think that they would have a university entrance here, but it is. It's also on the other side too, but this is one entrance. Now here it's very remote. And I don't know how to describe it. If it's a dump, if it's a place to excavate resources or what. There's a lot of open land here, and some of it very curious. Now this was interesting. On the left there was hundreds of police vehicles that looked damaged, wrecked or whatever, or just not seen to. I don't know what's going on with that. So many vehicles. That's the University of Trinidad and Tobago on the right. UTT, they call it for short. Some other buildings there on the left. And once you pass those two places, that's kind of like the path of no return here. You have that little factory on the left, but I don't think the entrance to it is even on this side. So it's kind of weird coming in here. But you know, I'm always curious. I want to see what it's about. You know what I mean? Like to explore. Where does the road take you? And you can start to see, right? The road leads from asphalt to mud, water, and gravel. And of course, you know, that doesn't stop JB, so we keep on going. Now, as I told you near the beginning of this video, that sometimes when you come in these remote areas, you get all kind of smells. Something dead. Well, wow. In this trip, we really got that. 2-3 times. Very strong. I don't know what's out here and what's going on, but it was really remote. I was just curious to see where the road would take you. Now I know seeing this on video doesn't mean much, but there was an eerie feeling when I was driving out here. I mean, I've taken a lot of desolate roads and stuff, but out here seemed like apocalyptic in some way. The feel of it, the smell. almost had that kind of abandoned feeling. Is this a place you would traverse? Just out of curiosity? Or do you like to stay to the safe roads? I can only imagine what here is like when there's lots of rainfall. Hmm. Well, I wanted to continue, but I was blocked, and they look really interesting, but a little too isolated even for my taste. Looked more or less like a private road, that's why I didn't go down it. Didn't have that look of public access. So I decided to turn around, head back out. The only thing with a one way in and one way out road like this is being trapped somehow. So if you're coming in, make sure you pay attention to who's around you. Nobody following you or whatever to block the road or whatever. That's the thing with some of these my road trips on JB's Man Cave, we don't necessarily end up with something spectacular. Like, oh my goodness, at the end of this road is a dead body. No. It's just out of plain curiosity to see what it is. I actually hope I never have to see a dead body out on a road. That would mean a lot of time in the police station explaining how I came over that body, why I was there, what time it was, and blah 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 blah. And I was also curious about what these people were doing there. It's like a little dumping area. That's the thing about these areas when they are remote and possibly unsupervised, not supervised. Anything could go on. Anything could be dumped. That was interesting. So, not as a road trip that is as eventful as maybe going on a um, north coast road or up Lopino, but nevertheless, you got to see another aspect of Trinidad that you may not have seen before. We always tend to stick with the areas that we know and the places that are popularized, but there are these remote areas where we can also see some of the country and what is around. What do you think? There's so much underdeveloped places in Trinidad. Huh? Everybody just congregates in the major areas, but there's so much that can be done, so much can be built. It's not like we for want of land, or so much land can be utilized for things. Progress, farming, factories, and whatnot. I just decided to spin around here just so you could see one entrance to the university. It's another place that looked kind of isolated. That's it on the left there. And spinning around to exit. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed going on this road trip with me today. As we exit the area, Wallerfield, and we are actually facing west now, and we will be heading west onto the highway. And for me, I will be heading back down to the west and heading home after a long day. I'm glad the weather held up and it kept sunny, so you could see everything without that dark gray dreary look. Sometimes a lot of people come and see my newer videos where I didn't talk, and you all always want me to talk, so here I am spending time blabbering off. I hope you didn't fall asleep as we take the highway heading back into Port of Spain. Again, if you enjoyed JB's Man Cave, feel free to let everybody know about it. Tell your friends, tell your family members, send them an email or WhatsApp. Please ask them to subscribe. It's nice that they visit, but subscribing is what helps me to grow. Also to like and to share their comments. If they comment too and tell their experiences about the area, that really helps. Kind of stop there to find out how much they were selling the watermelon for, but they seem to be rather occupied. And once they told me the price, I just kept moving on, and for good reason. Usually in these areas in the countryside, you get some good prices, but not always. On a highway like this, by the way, it's 100 kilometers per hour. I don't know how many of you could remember, but for me it used to be 120. It had dropped all the way down to 80, and then they raised it back to 100. There was a time it used to be 120. If memory doesn't serve me wrong. Any of you remember that? So I'm just going to leave the video to run a bit, and for you to continue to check out some more of Trinidad as we make our way out of Valencia and Wallerfield and those areas. I really appreciate you watching and for being part of JB's Man Cave. Thanks so much.
Belebo,